What is going on, my super sandwiches? Rhymestyle here, and today I'm going to do a full in-depth review to Attack on Titan for the PS4 as well as the PS3 and PS Vita, although I only played the PS4 version of the game, and I'm going to go in-depth. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know, the good and bad. Well, that's really all you care about, like what's good and what's bad about it. So without further ado, let's get into all the details. Now before I start, let's talk about a couple of key factors. As of right now, the game has been released in Japan. There is no word on when the game is going to be released in the rest of the world. 2016 is all Koei Tecmo says, but if you live in Japan, you can get the Japanese version. Also, if you want to just order the Japanese version online, because the PS4, PS3, and PS Vita aren't region locked, you can do that as well. What I did is I ended up downloading off of the Japanese PSN by creating a Japanese PSN name and then buying yen cards from PlayAsia.com. A total of 8,000 is needed because the game costs 7,300 yen or so, somewhere around there. And essentially, you can either buy the game digitally for like 70 bucks, or you can get the game physically for about 65, 68 with shipping. So it's up to you. But before you buy it, obviously watch this review first, so let me go ahead and tell you everything you need to know about this game. So to get into the good stuff, or the pros, whatever you want to call it, the first thing I want to talk about is the visuals. Does the game look good? Well, yes. If you've seen any trailer, any gameplay, anything, you'll probably agree, but the game looks absolutely awesome. Now remember, I did not play the PS3 and PS Vita version. I saw a brief glimpse of what the gameplay looked like on that game, and it didn't look as great, but the PS4 version, which was the main platform that the game was developed for, looks absolutely awesome. Whoever was in charge, made sure they did the job right. From start to finish, the gameplay, the cutscenes, everything. Even when you just run around town, getting ready to start the next mission, the game looks absolutely awesome. And definitely the visuals is one of the strongest points of this game. Now, of course, looks are on everything. The next question is the gameplay actually fun? And to that, I will say yes, gameplay is pretty fun. As far as how it works, it's pretty simple. Square is used to latch onto buildings, trees, Titans using the 3D gear, X is used to boost with the gas, triangle is used to attack. So it's pretty simple. Compared to the Attack on Titan tribute game, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have played, it's very easy, and Koei Tecmo did a pretty good job capturing how 3D movement should be done without it being too much of a pain. So as far as that, it's pretty fun. Now, when you're actually fighting the Titans and playing through the missions, I gotta say it's a lot of fun, but I'll kind of cover the cons as well, because obviously it's not a perfect game in terms of gameplay, but when you play the game, you will enjoy it. You will have a lot of fun, especially if you're an Attack on Titan fan. So definitely gameplay, I gotta give it a thumbs up, but again, maybe a thumbs middle, because there is a cons aspect to it as well, or I guess a bad aspect, that I will cover once we get to the bad stuff of the game. One of the things that I really liked about this game, though, is the fact that it was very true to the anime and the manga of the story. Now, I played the game completely in Japanese, no English subs, obviously, because the game's not available in English yet, but I understood everything that happened from start to finish just because it was so true to the anime. If you watch the anime, you will understand everything that happens if you play a Japanese version of the game, just because it's so true to it in terms of cutscenes, everything that happens. I think there's like a couple things that are a little bit different than that happen in the anime as opposed to the game, but still, for the most part, it's very true to the story, and that's definitely a plus in my books. But ultimately, the most important fact about this game is whether or not it's fun, and I've already covered that. The answer is yes. It's very, very enjoyable to play the game, and it's so satisfying taking out Titan. Now, I want to make a quick comparison to those who have ever played any Dynasty Warriors games in the past. Taking out hundreds of opponents feels great. Well, in this game, you don't take out hundreds of Titans at once because obviously they're bigger and you can't really put that many Titans on the screen, or whatever reason they decide to not, swarm you, but it still feels as satisfying taking out Titan every single time. It gets repetitive, which I will cover later, but taking out Titan feels so freaking awesome every time you do it. When you swing around them, cut the nape of their neck, and take them down. It feels so freaking awesome. On top of it, the visuals are just always just so pleasing. Like, you take out a Titan and you just see like the blood like cover your character and everything. It's so awesome, and Koei Tecmo and Omega Force did such a great job with this game. And also, since we're talking about visuals for a second, I do want to cover the destruction. The destruction is probably one of the most favorite parts in the game. Like, watching a Titan get knocked into a building and watching that building actually explode to different pieces looks so freaking epic. On top of that, when you play as Titan Eren, bruh, that's all I have to say. Titan Eren missions are by far the most fun, just because you have like such power. Again, you feel so powerful, like any Dynasty Warriors game. You feel so powerful and strong. You're taking out Titans left and right, grabbing them, picking them up, kicking them, destroying them. On top of that, all the destruction happens around you. They're so satisfying. By far, the most funnest missions in this game are Titan Eren missions. I gotta toss it out there right now, because I know someone's gonna ask. Playing as Titan Eren is a lot of fun. Just as much fun as it is to play with the 3D gear and taking out the Titans as a human. You would definitely love the Titan Eren missions. Speaking of missions, let me just break down the quick format of how they usually work throughout the game. Now, I've only played the entire story mode, and I played a handful of missions in free mode. So this is just based off that experience, but I'm pretty sure it works the same across the board, just because that's all I really experienced. You jump into a map, there's a bunch of Titans, you kill them, and then a boss shows up. It's pretty simple. Now, one thing that they took out that other Dynasty Warriors games have had is annoying escort missions or relying on AI. Now, first of all, the AI in this game is smart. Every time I've seen any AI opponent run into an enemy, they take them out, or they die. But if they die, you don't have to fail the mission. One of the most frustrating factors in other games like One Piece Pirate Warriors, for example, is playing a game and then watching, Usopp or somebody die and then you start over. It's like you just spent half an hour in a mission and you have to start over because the AI died. I've never experienced that one time in this game, and that's definitely a big plus in my books. But again, ultimately, the game is fun. That's the most important factor out of any game. Is it fun, yes or no? And to this, I say yes. Even through all the repetitive madness that I played the game, once I beat the game and played more in free mode, I still had fun, and again, that's the most important part. Speaking of repetitiveness, let's get into the bad stuff. As you can guess, the #1 flaw with this game is the repetitiveness. When it comes down to it, you pretty much do the same thing over and over again. You show up, there's a Titan, you go for the next. Now you do have an option of going for the arms and legs, but you'll probably never do that. Now every now and then you come against a Titan who has higher defense, and for the defense to drop, you first have to take out their arms and then go after the next. Never the legs. I've only experienced Titans where you have to fight their arms first and then you can go for the next. But still, for the most part, it's still very much the same. On top of that, the format of all missions is exactly the same as well. You show up, again, there's a bunch of Titans, a boss shows up, you win, and you move on. So obviously the biggest flaw with this game is it's extremely repetitive, and it's going to hurt the game the most down the line. Now the cool thing is they have multiplayer coming out on March 24th, so hopefully that'll add some kind of variety to the game after you complete it, but for the most part, it is extremely repetitive. Speaking of repetitive, actually, let's talk about the functionality of the game and how it's pretty much the same across the board. As far as characters, the only characters you want to play as are Mikasa, Levi, and Eren. You don't want to play as Armin or anybody else, well, not really at least. Armin sucks. You have to play as him a couple times in story mode and you're going to hate it, but for the most part, the only characters you want to play as are Mikasa, Eren, and Levi. But seriously though, there's no real reason to play as any other characters unless you're forced to do in a story mode. For example, you have to use Armin a couple times in the story, and it's just a big pain because he's basically like the Tails of the Sonic world. It's not that fun to play with. Eren's cool, because after Eren gets his Titan powers, when you press R2 after getting enough power, you can actually transform into his Titan form for a certain amount of time and just unleash havoc. But other than that, every other character is kind of dull and pointless. So between Mikasa, Levi, and Eren, that's all you're really going to use, and everybody else, nah, not really. Even customizing stuff in your character felt pretty much repetitive and the same. As far as costumes, for the most part, it was all the same. You either have the standard outfit, or you can have the cape, or you can get the free DLC cleaning outfit that I used a couple times. Weapons, they were only like 5 different blades, but once you unlock the samurai swords, you don't need anything else because they're vastly stronger than anything else. As far as gas and 3D gear, doesn't really do anything, so I really care about that. So customization was pretty much dull and repetitive. As you can see here, the big enemy to this game is the fact that everything is dull and repetitive. It's fun, but it's dull and repetitive. But to be honest, if you watch the anime or read the manga, you already know that they don't really change equipment at all in the series, at least until you get further into the manga. So it makes sense that there were no real options. To be honest, I was even surprised it gave us the ability to change weapons in the first place. But still, I gotta toss it out there. The customization just feels dull and repetitive, and there's just no real point to it. Now the final flaw is more of an opinion, but the game's extremely easy. Now we already kind of questioned the difficulty, whether or not it was going to be hard to play the game or not, as we were watching gameplay trailers being revealed over the past couple months, but it is indeed very easy. All you literally have to do to kill a Titan is swing around the back and attack their neck. Now, as I mentioned in this video, you can actually have the option of attacking the legs and arms as well, but you really don't need to. And it's literally only a small handful of Titans that require you to attack their arms first before you can attack their neck, and even that is not really that difficult. Now, as far as difficulty, free mode does offer more options, but it's not the same as in a typical game. So for example, in any game that you play, the higher the difficulty, the smarter the AI, the more damage you take, the less damage you do, things like that. But in this game, difficulty is kind of based on where you're at. So for example, let's say there's a mission that's in the middle of nowhere, outside the walls, where there's nothing you can really latch onto. That's a higher difficulty, but at the same time, that doesn't necessarily make it more harder to fight the Titans. I mean, there's so many missions that I've done in the Let's Play where I had to do it outside the wall, and it's actually pretty easy. All you gotta do is literally run after the Titans, latch onto them, and kill them. Now, the other thing that they do in terms of higher difficulties is sometimes the boss Titans have more health, but again, it doesn't really make it that much more difficult to take them down. You just have to hit them more times. So that's kind of like what they do in terms of higher difficulty, and obviously that's a big flaw. Honestly, what they should have done to kind of balance out the whole difficulty thing is add a very hard mode, maybe as free DLC, a patch or something, I don't know, that basically the second you get caught by Titan, you die. Because there's so many times that I've actually been caught by Titans when I was playing the game, but you have so much time to escape. And what they should do is add this very hard mode where if you get caught, you immediately die. That, I think, could balance out the whole difficulty question and make people happier. But I don't know, it's just my suggestion. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below on the whole difficulty thing. But that's pretty much everything. If you can get past the repetitive factor and the easiness of the game, you'll still enjoy it, especially if you're a fan of the Attack on Titan series. Like I said, they do a great job staying true to the anime and the manga, so it's definitely a plus. But again, it's repetitive and easy, and that's probably the biggest downfall of the game. Now, if you have any questions about the game or anything, feel free to comment in the comment section below. But ultimately, I do recommend the game. I will say that I do recommend the game. It sounded like I was bashing it for the most part, but like I said, it's a pretty fun and enjoyable game, especially if you're a fan of the series, so I do recommend it. Just understand that if you get this game, expect it to be easy and expect it to be very repetitive. But if you can look past that, you'll get a very enjoyable game, which is known as Attack on Titan for the PS4 and PS3 and PS Vita. So that's pretty much everything. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's review video, feel free to drop a like rating below. And if you have any other questions, comments, or feedback, you know how this works. Just drop it in the comment section below. But as always, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. My name is Rhymestyle, and I will see all you awesome super sandwiches in the comment section below. Peace.